Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today we are going to be reviewing the Crocodile Locomotive. This is set number 10277, and it came with 1,271 pieces, and it's a set that is intended for ages 18 and up, and it came out actually in 2020, so it's been retired for a little while now, but I managed to pick this up on Facebook Marketplace. And so as you can see on the side of the box here is a front shot of the train there, or I guess the back. It doesn't really matter because it is symmetrical. But this Crocodile Locomotive here comes in at 20 inches long, as you can see, and the base itself is 20.5 inches. And then the height of the model on the stand is 6 inches tall. And as you can see on the back of the box here, you can take the set plus the battery box right here, the hub, and the Technic motor, the L motor, and then you can use the powered up app in order to actually get the train moving. Now, you do not get the track included in the set. You have to buy all of the RC track separately in order to have it run on rails, but the base is included in the set. So with that being said, as you can see, I've already cut open the box here. So I'm gonna show you guys what's inside the box here, and then we can get started on building it and reviewing it and then seeing it run around my layout. All right, so this is what is inside the box here. So you get 2 bag 1s, you get 2 bag 2s, 2 bag 3s, and then 3 bag 4s. And then you also get this extra bag here, which has all the train wheels in it, plus these 8x16 plates. And then obviously the magnetic buffers as well. And then as for the instructions, that is in its own little plastic sleeve. And then you get the oneness sticker for the set. So that is pretty good to see. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build this. I'm not going to do a time lapse because this set is a number of years old already. So I'm just going to go in, I'm going to build it, and I will show you guys the completed product once it's done. All right, so this is the completed model here. And so as you can see, it is fairly long. The base itself is 10 studs deep by 66 studs wide, which makes for about 3 inches by 20 inches respectively. And so the base has a lot going on with it, and that is the entire first bag. And so as you can see, kind of bringing it around in a circle here, you'll notice that there is a UCS style plaque. This is the only sticker in the entire set, and I'll give you guys a close-up look at that in just a second. Every other detail that you see on the model is going to be a print, which is actually a really nice thing to see. And so as you can see coming around the back here, the entire model is symmetrical. So you build the base, and then you build the middle here, and then you build the both noses, I guess, at the same time, and they are completely identical. So you can have this run forwards or technically backwards, and it would still look the exact same. So that is pretty much everything to see during the spin around here. So with that, we can go ahead and we can punch in and take a closer look. So right away, what you'll notice is that there is a lot of brick built detail here as opposed to using decals or stickers or even prints. The only real prints around here are on the main body, which has the set number, and then a couple of other pieces of information as well. And so focusing in on the nose here, you'll notice that this is 5 studs wide, and then the running boards make it 7. And so there is actually quite a lot of detail that goes into this, and each nose is built up in 3 main sections. So the first section is the part with the wheels, and then the second part is this part out here with the buffers, and then this rotating bogie here, which is on its own ball joint. And then the third section you build is the top here in brown. And so it makes for a really nice looking front or back, depending on how you're running the train. But I do think that it looks really good, and it does use the standard magnetic couplers, so you can use this with most other Lego trains except for the Orient Express. Now, that's not to say you can't modify this, but right out of the box, you'd have to make a couple changes in order to do that. And then coming through to the middle, you'll notice my big problem with the set is this gap right here. This is a full stud or a full brick width in here. So if I take a random brick that is not included in the set, just a random 1x2, you can see this fits in here, and it just slides right in, and it fits there pretty good. And now this is probably going to get stuck in there. But the point is that they could have made this a lot closer of a gap as opposed to trying to just leave it open. And in fact, the real deal, since this is based on a real model, the real model doesn't have a gap here. And so while they don't have any expanding and contracting pieces that would work perfectly in this situation, I do think that they could have built up something with cheese slopes or something or other. And I will be making a video modifying this train as needed. So definitely make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out when that video drops. But coming to the middle here, I do think that this looks really good. And as I was building it, I thought it was actually going to be really short in terms of length. And so I wasn't totally keen on it. But then once you actually added in the train windows on either end along with these slopes, it really helped elongate the entire thing, and it made it look a lot more proportionate to what it looked like on the box and also to the rest of the model as well. And so coming up to the top here, you will notice the pantographs, and I think those look really good. They are obviously a lot more built up than Lego has ever done before, and they're also kind of finicky. Over 55 pieces go into each of these, so there's 55, almost 60 pieces in this, and then almost 60 pieces in that. And so right there, that is 10% of, or 9.5% of the entire parts in the set go into those pantographs up there. But I think it looks good, and these are easily removable because they are on just a couple jumpers here. So this whole roof comes off, and you can see a little bit of detail here with these red whip pieces, and I think those look pretty good. And there's not much else going on with the roof here, but you can see that this is asymmetrical. This is the one thing on the entire model that is not the same front to back. So that is just something to note. But coming in here to the middle, you'll notice that I have both figures in here at the moment, and this entire thing is actually removable. So you can go in and you can just pull this up. Of course, the one time I'm doing it on camera, it doesn't want to cooperate with me. But you can, let me take the figures out. You can take this whole section out here, and this is actually how you would add a motor, which I will be doing in this video, so definitely stay tuned to the end for that. But looking at this here, you can see that this is mostly just a detail thing, just to kind of make it look like there is actually an engine and stuff going on in the middle here. And then you'll notice a brake lever and also a throttle, and then also a couple of dials as well. And that is the exact same on the other side as well. And then each side has a clip. So on one side, there is a toolbox, and then on the other, there is this wrench here in silver. And so this is actually a really nice detail. When you do motorize the train, though, if that's something that you want to do, you have to leave this out, unfortunately, but that's not the end of the world. You can just leave this on a shelf or do anything else like that. Now, taking the train off the base, just so I can kind of rotate it a little bit better for you guys, you can see the driving mechanism in there. So there's this one gear in here, and that spins the entire mechanism down below. So if I just pull these off, this makes it really easy to get in there and see. So if I spin this one gear here, you'll notice all four of these wheels are spinning. So that works out great. And then you just have to go in and add your motor, and it's literally just a plug and play. So you just get it in there, you put the battery box on this side, and then it is ready to go. So that works out fantastically well, and I'm actually very curious to try this out for myself. I did push this around my layout just to see how it looked, and also I did try and go ahead and use the Wild West train as something to pull it and also push it, and I didn't have any derailments actually. So that was a very nice surprise. I had seen online that a lot of people, when the set first came out, they had a lot of problems with Lego's tight radius curves, and so I was kind of expecting the same thing, but fortunately I didn't really have any issues. So with that, we can move on to the minifigures. I'll show you guys the extra pieces, and then we can put a motor in it, see how the train runs, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts. And so as promised, here is a close-up look at the plaque here. It's on a 6x8 ramp in black, and I think it looks pretty good, and it just has some basic information on it. It doesn't go as in-depth as the Star Wars UCS plaques do, but I do think that the information here is pretty good. So these are the two figures included in the set here, and so as you can see, they share the same torso and legs, and one of them has a hat and the other has a hairpiece. And there's not a whole lot to talk about here. I think the print on the torso looks really good. Neither of them have an alternate face, unfortunately, but you don't really need it. That is just something that would be a nice bonus. But overall, these figures are basic, but they serve their purpose well. These are the extra pieces included in the set, and I don't think the one on the left was supposed to be an extra, but I ended up with one anyways. And this was the sticker sheet. As you can see, there was only one sticker in the entire set, which was the plaque. So in order to motorize the Crocodile locomotive, you are going to need two things, namely the powered up hub here and also the powered up motor. This is the L motor, the Technic L motor. So with this, we can go ahead and we can start to disassemble the model and take it from there. So actually motorizing this train is a lot simpler than it might seem. Lego actually gives you real instructions to do so, and so it's fairly simple to do it. You just have to take apart a couple of things, and then you add your motor and your battery box in, and then that is pretty much it. There's no real reworking to do, there's no rebuilding to do. You just kind of swap out the little interior with the motor. And so with that, let's go and test this around the layout right now. All right, so I have the Crocodile locomotive hooked up to my tablet now, and so as you can see, the light is on here. So with that, we can start to give it a little bit of power, and that looks like it's the other way. So with this, it is actually going pretty smooth so far. So let me give you guys a couple different shots of this going around, and then we can talk about my final thoughts about the set and my experience as a whole. All right, so now that we have gone through the entire review of the model, we looked at the two minifigures, and I showed you guys the motorization of the set itself. And so now is the time to talk about the value of the set and its design and everything like that. I'm going to avoid talking about price until a little bit later on in the video, so we are just going to focus on the set as a whole for right now. And so first and foremost, I think this is a beautiful model. I think it looks great. I only have 3 nitpicks with the entire set. First one is this gap in here, which I already mentioned. The second one is that the display stand does not have a spot for the minifigures, so they just either have to stand on the side or be in the model, or you can just place them on the display stand, but if you ever want to move it, then they are both going to fall off, which is not really ideal. And then my third nitpick was with the pantographs up here. I think they're a beautiful design, but they are a little finicky, and so if you nudge them the wrong way, then they are going to get misaligned, and also the binoculars on the top might fall off as well. So that's not ideal, but overall, I think the set's great. And for when it retailed back in 2020 for a $100 US price tag, I actually don't think that's a terrible price. And I paid $130 US with shipping included to get this to the studio here, and I think that's actually a pretty fair price, all things considered, considering it's been retired for a few years now, and it's also not a small set by any means. And so with this running around the layout, as you guys saw, on its own, it was surprisingly fine. I had no hiccups with it. I expected this to derail along the curves because Lego has a very tight radius of curve. However, I had no issues, and even when I coupled a couple of pieces of rolling stock behind it, I had no problems there either, which was very surprising. It was very nice, but it was very surprising considering all of the stuff that I had seen online about it. And the conclusion that I came to with the people that had the problems versus my own experience with this is that if your track is on a perfectly level surface or it is ballasted like mine is, then chances are you won't have any problems with it. However, if your track has elevation in it and it has imperfections along the rails, then you are more likely to experience derailment issues with this. Now, obviously, this set isn't perfectly accurate. There are some things that are wrong about it, namely the wheel alignment here. This coupling rod should go between these three wheels here, as is this three over here. But then you would need essentially a ground design rebuild, and then that would just overcomplicate the whole thing, and you would need a wider radius of curve and everything like that. And so this train is surprisingly well made considering the compromises and considering the limitations of the existing track pieces and everything like that. Now, just for fun, I did couple every piece of rolling stock that I had that had a magnetic coupler on it, and this thing pulled it with no problem. So that was very nice to see. It was very surprising as well, but it worked. I had no issues with it, no derailment, no stuttering, the wheels didn't slip. And the reason for that is because of the rubber bands on each of the driving wheels. And so the driving wheels here, the ones with the flanges, are all with rubber bands on them, which Lego can do, they just choose not to. They didn't include them for the Orient Express, they didn't include them in the Wild West train for the Bricklink Designer program, and they did not include them for a number of other sets as well. So I don't know why this set got the love that the other sets didn't. They really went all out for this set, and the reason for the title of the video is that they picked a rather obscure model to make as the first set in this train theme revival, if you want to call it that. A Swiss Crocodile locomotive that has a top speed of about 40 miles an hour is not something that fans worldwide would recognize. And so I'm sure if you lived in Europe, this is probably a more common thing for you, despite the fact that it's been out of service for almost 40 years. But I do still think that as a worldwide thing, Lego is a worldwide toy. And so if you're going to market a toy to the entire world, at the very least, something at the beginning, it needs to be something that's extremely recognizable. Granted, that could be a steam train, that could be a certain diesel locomotive, or it could be something else entirely. But picking something like this as the start to the revival of this theme and then not continuing the theme once this doesn't perform well was a really poor decision, in my opinion at least. And so had they made this the third train or the fourth train to come out in this train theme revival, I think that would have gone over a lot better, because then you get the basics out of the way. You get yourself a steam train or possibly even a smaller one, and then you get yourself a diesel, and then you can kind of go from there. And so this, while it is really cool, it is unfortunate that this was the face of that rebrand. Now, this isn't to say that this is a bad set by any means, and it's not to shed light on the Orient Express here. This has a number of problems, which I have talked about in its own video. And so if you guys want, I will put that in the top right for you to check out. That was a number of months ago at this point. But just for fun, I did take the Orient Express coaches and I modified one of the bogies on the Crocodile so that it could pull the ball joint connectors for the Orient Express. And as you can see here in these clips, it had no issues, which was very surprising. It was very reassuring that actually the Orient Express is fixable, but the Crocodile locomotive here pulled it with no issues, which was great to see. And so I will be revisiting the Orient Express in the near future and trying to solve some of the problems that I had with it back a few months ago. And so if you guys are interested in that, be sure to click subscribe as well as turn on the bell notification so you don't miss when that video drops. But to kind of further go into that testing there, the Crocodile Locomotive with the motor and battery box inside weighs 28.5 ounces or 810 grams. And the Orient Express weighs about 26 ounces, which is around 760 grams. And so right off the bat, the entire locomotive here is heavier than the Orient Express is, and the Crocodile was able to pull the Orient Express coaches, which I have right here, perfectly fine, which was really, really nice. And so that gives me a little bit of hope. I'm going to save that for its own video, though. I'm not going to go too far into depth with the Orient Express here. But one of the final points that I wanted to make about the Crocodile here is the unfortunate circumstance of the controller. The powered up system is really neat in that you only need 2 components to actually get the thing working, which is the motor itself and then the hub, which is the battery box and the Bluetooth receiver combined into one. Now you notice I didn't specify that the remote was required, and that's because with the Bluetooth, you can actually connect it to your phone or your tablet or anything else like that. If you connect the hub to this remote here and you use the large Technic motor like I have in the Orient Express or what I put in this train here, which was recommended by Lego on the box, then you can only go at maximum speed with this, and when you let go of the button, the train stops. And there's no flywheel in the motor either, so it doesn't even slow down, it just cuts to a halt immediately. So I'm not a fan of using an app for running my trains, but it is kind of necessary if you want this to go at a certain speed, as opposed to pressing down the button here and going at max pace the entire time. And so overall, I think this is a really good set. It does have a couple nitpicks, like I said, but I will be modifying this to decrease the gaps in here. I want to fix, and then a couple of other things as well. Probably the gap in here. I understand that this is actually kind of realistic, but it just doesn't really sit that great with me that you can see the colors in there that aren't supposed to be shown, which is just brown and gray. So if it's not brown and gray, it's not really supposed to be visible on this model here. I'm also not a fan of the red on the wheels here, but that's not the end of the world. I don't think that's a huge deal. And so other than that, I don't really have anything to complain about with this. The size is good. It's very large. It's 4 track segments long, like I talked about. And so it dwarfs a lot of the other trains. It dwarfs the Orient Express. It dwarfs this standard city cargo train. This one is from 2014. And it also especially dwarfs the 2022 Holiday Main Street tram. I figured I'd put that in here just for fun, just to see how that looks. But despite the fact that it seems so large, it's not terribly out of scale. And so it is a maximum of 7 studs wide, plus a hint of an extra with some of the other things on here. But I think it looks really good. I think it's great. And I was expecting this to just be a display model after this review. But with everything that I've shown in this video, I'm actually going to be keeping this on my layout and actually running it from time to time. So that means I'm going to need to buy another motor, which is really unfortunate because I don't want to have to take the motor out of this one to run this every single time. I had to gut the Orient Express already for this video, and then I had to put it back in this one so that I can run this for a different video that I have planned. So with that, that is going to wrap up today's video. At this point, I'm just going to be repeating everything that I've already said. So if you liked this video and you found it informative or at the very least entertaining, make sure to like the video and subscribe, as well as click the bell notification so you don't miss any future uploads. Like when I compare the Orient Express to this Crocodile locomotive here, and we also make some changes to it, like the gaps in here. If you guys have any feedback for me on if you have this set or if you've had any experiences with it running and there's been any problems with it, make sure to drop your comments down below to let me know. But once again, seriously, thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.